Venice, a city surrounded by canals that was one of the most powerful forces in Europe during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. They say that if you haven't been to Venice, you haven't seen the beauty of the world. But what made this city-state great? This is the story of Its Majesty, the Republic of Venice. It all began in the 5th and 6th centuries. The Roman Empire had fallen, and its lands were suffering from the invasions of the Huns and Visigoths. The inhabitants of Italy, fleeing from the barbarians, began to settle on islands and a lagoon surrounded by the sea. These islands would later become Venice. In 697, Venice elected its first doge, Orso Ipato, a leader who was to represent the interests of the citizens. Formerly, this territory was under Byzantine rule, but after 803, the Byzantine emperor recognized the power in the west of Charlemagne. Charles's son Pepin laid siege to the city in 804, trying to establish full authority over it, but failed. Due to its favorable geographical position, the small town managed to maintain its independence for centuries. With no land, not even fresh water, the Venetians were forced into industry and trade to get vital goods in return. The first business was salt mining on salt islands in the sea. In the Middle Ages, salt was used to preserve food and was of great importance. The Byzantine Emperor Alexius Comnenus needed support in his fight against the Normans, who were threatening southern Italy. By then, the Venetians possessed a significant fleet. In return for their support, the Republic received the Golden Bull, the right to trade duty-free in the empire, as well as the right to establish their own factories. Subsequently, this would give Venetian merchants an undeniable advantage over all Europeans. Venice began to turn into a trading empire. In 1104, the Arsenal was established by the city authorities, the most advanced shipyard in the world, using the methods of conveyor production. Thanks to the work of 3,000 workers, the enterprise could produce up to 1 ship a day for the Republic and provided quick repairs. The Signoria, the city's mayor's office, leased the merchant ships by auction. Enterprising citizens organized into companies, took out loans to rent ships and buy goods, and set out to trade in the east. The main places of trade were Levant, Syria, and Egypt, where goods came from the east and Asia, and where Christian merchants were allowed to trade. With a cheap and numerous fleet and a number of trading privileges from Byzantium, the Venetians eventually captured 1/3 of all trade in the Mediterranean and became the chief intermediary between East and West. From this point on, the whole of Europe became dependent on Venice. Furs and slaves were imported from the coast of the Black Sea, silk, jewelry, precious stones, and spices from Byzantium and the Near East. In the 14th century, the price of black pepper reached 5 to 10 times more than its weight in gold. Under the strict supervision of the Signoria, all goods had to enter the port of Venice, and only there, in the markets of the city, to be sold to other Europeans. At the same time, Germanic and other merchants were forced to go to Venice. In return for selling their goods, the city authorities required foreigners to buy Venetian goods, which they often did not like. But up to 80% of the goods coming from the east to Europe passed through the Republic. This was the key to Venice's success. In addition to trade, the Venetians produced glass, which was very valuable at the time, having a 90% monopoly in Europe, as well as their own fine silk. Leaders of the Fourth Crusade, in 1202, contracted with Venice to provide a fleet for transportation to the Levant. When the Crusaders were unable to pay for the ships, Doge Enrico Dandolo offered transportation in return for capturing for them Zara, a city rival to Venice. After the capture of Zara, the crusade was again directed, this time to Constantinople. The capture and sacking of Constantinople has been called one of the most profitable and infamous sacking of a city in history. A huge amount of wealth was taken from Constantinople to Venice. The former hegemony of Byzantium was a thing of the past, and the Venetians seized a number of strategic territories, including the island of Crete and Corfu. By the end of the 15th century, Venice had secured many holdings in the Italian peninsula, including Verona, Padua, Este, Bergamo, and Cremona. In addition to Italy, Venice also dominated the Dalmatian coast during the 15th century, with its territory extending from Istria to Albania. In 1489, Cyprus was annexed. It was the peak of the city of St. Mark's. Fernand Braudel estimated that in the mid-15th century, the budget of the city of Venice, together with its Italian and overseas possessions, amounted to 1.6 million ducats, with a maximum population of 500,000 inhabitants. For example, the budget of the French kingdom at that time was about 800,000 ducats, with a population of 15 million. It was undoubtedly the richest city of the time. Not the least important for the success of the city was its political structure, which was not standard at that time. The head and symbol of the Republic was the Doge. He signed the laws and made the major decisions. The election of the Doge was a complex process involving voting and drawing lots to minimize corruption. The Grand Council was the most powerful body, composed of the most influential families listed in the Golden Book of Venetian nobility. The Grand Council elected the Doge and other chief officials. It was the dip state that shaped the politics of the Republic. However dominating their holdings were, another powerful empire plagued the Venetian Republic during the 15th century. The Ottomans had taken most of the former Byzantine territory and began maritime campaigns against the Venetians in 1423. During more than 100 years of wars with the Turks, the Venetians lost almost all the territories in the Balkans, which significantly weakened their trading influence. In 1598, the route to Asia via the Cape of Good Hope was opened. The Portuguese, who we talked about in one of our videos, began to transport the goods of the East directly to Europe. Venetian power was finally undermined. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the city still remained one of the richest in Europe, but the former power was lost forever, and trade would be ruled by the big maritime powers. To everyone who watched this video, I wish peace and prosperity, as well as their family. May the next year be a year without war and suffering. The best gift for me is your subscription. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.